All right, welcome to our electricity and electronics lab. I'm going to go over a few of the safety precautions and the lab rules associated with this lab. First of all, in this lab, an instructor must be present at all times to work in this lab, so students are not allowed to work by themselves in this lab. Another element in here is prior to making any circuit changes, students need to de-energize. So if they're working with a power supply as an example, and they want to make any circuit changes, they have to de-energize that power supply prior to making any circuit changes. One of the big ones up here is number 3 here is students need to contact their instructor immediately for any blown fuses or breakers. So we will give them another fuse, and they're allowed to make mistakes, but we want to know what that mistake is, if it was a short or put the wrong voltage on a component or what that might be. When working with soldering stations, so we do have soldering stations at all of the tables, all the labs in here. But when working with soldering stations, safety glasses must be worn. I don't have safety glasses on right now. We always tell students to assume a soldering iron is hot, even if it is de-energized. All test equipment, like you see in the lab right now, all test equipment should be de-energized before leaving the lab. And then in addition to that, all test leads should be returned back to the lead rack across the way in here at the end of each lab. There is one exception we make to that rule, which is we do allow the benchtop meters to keep their leads here, but all the other test leads, clip leads, alligator clips, they need to be returned to our lead racks. In this lab, beverages are allowed, but only in spill-proof containers, so something with a cover or a cap. And then one of the ones we do in all of our labs is that troubleshooting always begins with a multimeter. So the expectation is that a student just doesn't raise their hand and say, hey, this circuit isn't working, but they actually take out a meter and say, hey, I was expecting this voltage here and I got this voltage here. So these are some of the lab rules and safety precautions associated with our electricity and electronics lab.